Introduction, you promised we would get a sense of what we're doing to improve the district. After today, if someone asks me, how was your morning? I'm going to say I learned about the need for efficiency in cutting grass, the need to improve the environment in which students learn. I might even talk about the Barbara Jordan Tech Center. But I'm not leaving with anything that can tell people how any of this is going to improve the 46% of HISD schools that are performing at a D or F. That has not been addressed.
Yeah, so I can talk about that. So real quick, and I focused today on budget and bond. That was the task, but I can talk all day. I'll be very short about what the answer to your question. Because it's a right question, but there's a long answer. I'll give you a short one. The preamble to that, though, is what Scott said earlier. We can't keep doing the things we've always done. There's a reason why I'm here. There's a reason why there was an intervention. There are 123 D and F schools in Houston, but it's not just recent. And I know that there's a focus on Wheatley, but it's a district that has been that we do have some of the best schools in the nation. So, and that is a true statement. And we have many schools, 50, almost 60 schools that are just doing well. They don't need any reform. So when some part of the community here, well, we got to do transformation. That is a cognitive dissonance that you have to deal with when you hear that. But I'm telling you, there are a whole bunch of schools that are not doing well, that were not doing well. And I'm a professional educator, and I've been in the schools, and I continue to be in the schools, and I can tell you that. And I can tell you the indicators. Quality of instruction. The quality of instruction was low. The systems that would build high quality instruction. The curriculum, high quality instructional materials, very low. And you don't have to look at that. You can look at the data. You can look at the STAR exams. You can look at the NWA exam. You can look at DIVLs. You can look at any number of assessments and how we instruct and how we assess kids. And that was very poor. Now, the problem that large urban districts face is they do incremental, piecemeal reform. You have to study the data across the nation, which I have done, because I've been a superintendent across the nation, which I have done, because I've been a superintendent many times and I'm an educational leader. So I look at that data, I go to the conferences, I study it, and the large urban districts are behind their peers, and they have been for 20, 25 years. We, large urban districts, have not closed the achievement gap. We have not. Despite No Child Left Behind. That's another advantage of being old. I've been through all these. Despite No Child Left Behind, despite Race to the Top, and now despite ESSER, billions of dollars in this country spent to bring us out of COVID. 2 years ago, I'm answering your question, but I need that setup, and then I'll get more specific. 2 years ago, or about 4 years ago, when ESSER was first proposed, ESSER is the COVID relief money. When that was first proposed, many of us in the profession, and I was the leader of a charter network at that time, but I just left Dallas, said, look, this is great, but let's not return to normal. There's a recognition in the profession that this public education system has not been good for underserved kids, for brown and black kids. There's a recognition of that because people can see that achievement gap hasn't closed. And worse than that, now there's a skills gap. So not only do we have to do reading, writing, math, and science, we have to provide kids with the skills that the Houston Space Center was talking about and I've been talking about. Information literacy, problem solving, critical thinking, learn how to learn, working with AI. Those are now skills that people are looking for. Not just, don't get me wrong, yes, reading, writing, math, science, and. So that's the position we find ourselves in. Those are the facts. What to do is the question. What to do? What have we done? we have implemented the largest transformation in the history of the country in HISD, and that is whole-scale systemic reform. No other district has done that. Whole-scale systemic reform. What that means, and I said it last summer, but it may not have been as clear, comprehensive, far-reaching changes in a subset of schools all at one time. That's whole-scale systemic reform. And anybody who's been a leader in a district knows, and we have some in here, who was with Terry Grew. Where are you? Yeah, there you are. Knows that even if you do one thing, one bold thing, like pay for performance, or using data for evaluation, even if you do one thing, there's status quo bias, there's pushback, there's familiarity, and that's going to bring out people because people get comfortable, and some people have fear about the changes, or they don't know enough about it, and that's okay. But what you should know, right, is that when you have whole-scale reform, you're going to get as much pushback as we've had. And by the way, I said yesterday on the news that to the Chronicle and their readers that I'm amazed we haven't had more pushback, really. Because when you hear the news, there's a group of people, but it's a relatively small part of the district, given all the changes that we're doing. Anyway, whole-scale systemic reform. What that looks like operationally is new education system. The new education system is whole-scale reform of 85 schools, and we did it this year. It was a huge feat. It's been done. We're almost done with this first year. And I think you're going to see we're going to get results, but even if you didn't see results, you're going to see higher quality instruction in those schools. Go to those schools. Don't listen to the one or two anecdotes because it's 185,000 kids, so you can find an anecdote anywhere, for anything you want. There's 11,000 teachers, so you can find an anecdote for whatever position you want. I've been in almost all the 85 NES schools myself. I've looked at instruction, I've coached the principals, and I can tell you that the quality of instruction at the beginning of the year, or now, compared to the beginning of the year, is so much improved. And many of you, when you go there, you see it. Scott's been to several schools.
Can I just paint let me just paint a quick picture to answer your question of what it looks like. Because I've read everything, like what is going on? All I hear is bad news. So I went and I saw. If you go into a typical classroom, school occurs today like it did when we went to school. The teacher stands at the top, at the front, they talk to the students, eventually they take a test. In the NES system, the teacher doesn't stand at the front. The teacher interacts up and down the aisles with the students, teaches a 45-minute session. At the end, asks 2 questions. Every kid has an easel. They answer the questions on the easel, they turn around and they hold it up. At that point, the teacher breaks the class down into kids who get it, kids who kind of get it, kids who kind of don't get it, kids who don't get it. They then break them up into the best performing kids go to what everyone's heard as the delinquent centers. They're the libraries for small group instruction. If you're a parent, you want your kids to have small group instruction. And if you have a smart kid, you don't want them held back by the slowest kids. So the slowest kids stay with the teachers to get tutorials. The brightest kids go into the library where they're able to work ahead. And the teacher cannot just give out a mimeographed worksheet and have the kids work on it. They have to teach. And education looks different in the NES schools. Completely different. And I'm confident that when we see the academic results come out this summer, you're going to see the NES schools perform here, and the schools that lag perform here, and that's with 1 year. And teachers getting on board. But change is hard. I know this because we had to do it at HEB, and people will push back. And luckily, Mike is staying the course by saying we're going to deliver excellence, and we're going to do these things to do it. So education looks different, to answer your question.
Thank you, Scott.
Whoever answer the question, Scott, I'm happy to have you do that. Dan.
Superintendent, thanks for being here today. I was thinking about